Hey everybody, this is Mike. Today is September 3rd, 2020, and this is going to be like an update, some stories, no real research in this. So hopefully this will be a little bit of a different feel from the last couple videos. They've been really research intense. So I'm in a spot outside where I used to go like many years ago when my children were young. And so this location here has got some memories for me. Let's see what we got here. See, it's like part of this trail. Here's a nice little creek. And yeah, I'm like right down here. This is me right now. And so now I'm going to go and, there are a couple stories I'm going to tell, and some of them are like memory lane stories. So, it makes sense for me to be here. So let's begin with, for those of you who remember the video I talked about with Steiner and the house I cleaned out and the Waldorf school. So I want to give a little bit of an update on that. So, if I'm being honest, like, I shared that story with a bunch of people who I know, who were involved with the school, who I think would have been excited about the synchronicities involved with it. And for the most part, they're like, There's one person who was excited, but like for the most part, like a lot of people I shared it with, they did not see the serendipity in it and all that serendipity and synchronicity points to. So 2 days ago, I received an email. I'm on a mailing list from this organization right here. It's called Core to Michael, and it's a Steiner group, Rudolf Steiner group. Now, keep in mind, I'm not like a follower of Rudolf Steiner. Like I'm not supportive. I just I'm not a follower of anyone. I follow myself. So, but I do know a bit about a lot of different things, and including that would be Rudolf Steiner. And I think positively enough that, I send my children to a Waldorf school, which is based upon Steiner's philosophy. And this Core to Michael is involved with the local Waldorf school where my children go to. And I guess that's how I got onto their mailing list. And I know a little bit about the guy who runs it. Like, I've been to a couple of his presentations, not necessarily Steiner presentations, but he's done some other things, other research, which I found interesting. And I went to his presentation. So, I got an email from him a couple days ago, and I was like, hey, I'm going to respond back to this guy, and I'm going to tell him the story about me cleaning out, Hal and Dorothea Williams' home, because they were they were a strong spiritual seed behind the beginnings of the Susquehanna Waldorf School. I know this guy was involved with it, and I thought he would find it interesting. And, I want to share the story. That's half the fun of having experience is to be able to share the stories. At least that's coming from a storyteller. That's the way I see it. So anyway, I sent him a short email and tell him the stories, and this is what I get back from him. I got this back from him the other day. You could see when this comes. So I guess I cut this out today, so this came to me yesterday. And it's like, Dear Michael, that's amazing. We should meet and compare notes on 230 West Orange. West Orange is where the address of the house which I cleared out. And so he says, yes, the mansion house was fully built by Dorothea's family. Hal's medical practice operated out of 556 West James Street, which is where Hal and Dorothea resided until 230 passed on to Dorothea from her family. So this is where it gets kind of interesting. So it says 230. It's talking about the building which I cleaned out. It was the home of the Lancaster group, which met to study anthroposophy from approximately 1960 to 1990. Prior to 1960, the group meetings were held in the nearby home of Miriam Wallace, the first curative person who practices eurythmy. I guess I'm having trouble speaking today. In America, Miriam's home is now inhabited by Corda Michaels co-founder June Oriole Lang. Prior, the parlor at 230, the first room on your right as you enter the first floor, was the pioneer outpost of I don't know why this word is so hard for me to say, but it just is, anthroposophy in America. In the early 1960s, there were only a handful of active groups in the entire USA. Many leading lights in the anthroposophical movement lectured in the parlor at 230. Yours truly, the guy who wrote this note, lectured at the same parlor on the two Jesus children 1 year during the Holy Nights, when Dorothea had the vision of the Waldorf school circa 1950. The parlor was also used to host lectures on Waldorf education. Francis Edmonds, the founder of Emerson College, England and Waldorf schools, as well as in Africa, lectured in the parlor at 230. So I guess the whole point, and this other thing, the Waldorf seminar was organized at Millersville University in the 60s. I'm living in Millersville now. And I guess, the whole thing which I want to point out with this is just, the serendipity, this connection, as I said, I don't think of myself as a follower of Steiner. I don't really have studied his works, I'm a little bit familiar, but it's certainly interesting to me. So again, I just follow the breadcrumbs which I see in front of me. I share these stories because I like to share stories and also to inspire everyone else to look at all of the stuff which is around in their lives. So that was the first story I want to share today. Now we're going to go on to the second one. This one's kind of fun as well. So this one begins, when's this one going to begin? This one begins in 2012. So, let me pull this out right now. So this t-shirt. See this t-shirt? I like to wear it. I wear this shirt because I like the owl on it. And if you can read what it says on the shirt, it says, "The Thirsty Owl Wine Company, celebrating a decade, established 2002. So I got the shirt in 2012. I think they got that backwards. A decade is from, yes, it's 10 years, but it's from like a 0 to a 9. But anyway, so I got this shirt in 2012. And this is all going to make sense in a moment. We're going to build up to this. So this is where this place is from. It's called the Thirsty Owl Wine Company. You can see it started 2001, and this is where they're located. I don't drink wine, I don't drink alcohol, but I like the shirt, as I said, because of the owl. And this is at the Onid, New York. And so where is that? That's right here. It's on one of the Finger Lakes. Finger Lakes are located in New York State. This is just right in the center of the Iroquois Confederacy. And while I was there, I remember this trip. I took it in 2012, and me and my then wife and her parents, we had rented a house right here. It was over 4th of July weekend, and we were in town because there was a family wedding up at Syracuse, and we extended it to stay for the week. And I was there with my young boys. At the time, they were probably like 4 and 5. It was a really, really special trip in my memory. And I remember them swimming in this lake, and they collected a whole bunch of stones, little stones, and I kept those stones. I keep stones from almost all my travels. And so that was 2012. And then in 2015, this is right after me and their mother split up, and I start going through like this big sort of change in my life. And at that time, I built, what the hell is that? That's the biggest friggin', that's a nasty looking mosquito. Where was I? So this is right around the time where I go and I build the Starboard, and my life really started changing when I built the Starboard. Here's a picture of the Starboard. It's an outer wheel, it's an inner wheel, and in the center of the inner wheel are these stones, and these stones are the stones from right here, from this lake, which my sons collected. So you can see kind of how they are connected. And the starboard, what I do with it is each one of these stones represents a planet, and then I build a model of what's happening in the heavens as a way of connecting, what's above with what we're walking on in the earth. So I made the starboard in 2015, 2016, I think is when it was. And then shortly after that is when I started the research, which would become the Susquehanna Mystery. And, that's brought me down a certain path. And shortly after I finished the initial research on the Susquehanna Mystery, I went up to Cooperstown, New York, because Cooperstown, New York is where the headwaters of the Susquehanna River are, and I wanted to do some research. And when I did that, I wanted to go and really understand where were like the sacred locations around there. And, as an outsider, and I wouldn't know where it would be. The sort of stuff I was looking for, probably you would not find in a Cooperstown Visitor Center website. So I figured who would know would probably be energy workers, alternative healers, and so forth. So I did some research on alternative healers in the Cooperstown area, and I found a few, and I sent them an email like, hey, my name's Mike, I'm going to come up in the area. I was wondering if you could point out to me, some cool places to go, cool earth energy, and blah, 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 And I was going to go and apply that to my own research, but I didn't want to bore them with my research at the time. And so there's one guy who responded to me. I sent out 5 emails, and I heard back from one guy. And it was really, really a generous guy. And he's like, hey, why don't we meet for lunch, and I'll tell you about the area and so forth. I was like, fantastic. And I had lunch with this guy. His name was Tim. He's an older guy, probably 70 years old, if I were to guess. And when I met with him, he gave me a book. He gave me this book right here. It was called The Gaia Matrix, Arkham and the Geometries of Destiny in the North American Landscape. And when I got that book, I was intrigued by it, but I never read it. I was so focused on my own research and what I was doing on in my life that I didn't have time to go down that path. But I knew that I wanted to read it one day, and so that book went on my shelf. And so that one day to read it was, I don't know, a month ago. A month ago is when I actually read the book or started reading the book. And I was blown away. I highly recommend this book to anyone who's interested in, just the title in itself, it's going to speak to you. If you hear things like geometries of destiny in the North American landscape, this book does an excellent job talking about ley lines and earth lines, and maps them out in a way which I found very satisfying. So I'm reading the book, and I come across this one map. In this map here, you could see these are all of these different ley lines, and you could see they're identified: the Peacemaker ley, the Washington ley. You can go and find this book on Google Books, and you can read through it. But you could see there's this one spot right here where all of these different lines, this vortex of ley lines intersect. And you can see it here on this line as well. And it is Seneca Falls, New York. And so the reason why that's so interesting is, if you look closely, this is where I stayed when I got the stones for this starboard, which every time I set it up, I align it up. This is always east, right where the first sign is, or the first house is, and it's always not only do I make a map of the heavens, but it's lined up perfectly on the earth. And in the center are these stones which come from right here in this lake, and this right here, if you could look closely, my friends, that is Seneca Falls. That is this spot right here. So from completely different avenues, I just know my own life, how my life has unfolded, and the things that have happened in my life, and the decisions which I made for whatever was going on in my conscious mind at the time. that brought me to all of this. That's brought me to this exact moment. And the joy of looking back with hindsight and seeing how it's all connected, whether it's this or whether it's, this story here with Hal Williams' house. But you can begin to see, or at least I can begin to see, within my own life, of this underlying order, serendipity, synchronicity, whatever we want to call it, golden thread. And the reason I bring that up is stuff like this is going to become more and more and more and more significant as a way to navigate reality, as the old ways are going to be closed down, or at least as you become more and more aware that the old ways hold no value, and you need to find new ways to find your path through, life. So now that brings me on to the third story of today. So, all right. So let me get this out. I'll go take me away from here. And so I just started another part-time job, and I'm going to be working out of this spot right here, this shed. And this is like a yard waste drop-off. And, I don't know what it's like where you live, but where I live, if you're going to drop off like the yard waste, the local municipality usually has a place where you can do that. And you need to go and show some ID that you live there and you can drop off your stuff. And there's a guy who's like at the fence who's like, okay, show me your ID. Well, guess what? That's yours truly. It makes me laugh to think I'm that dude. And I get to mix with so many people, and I love it. I love being able to like talk to everyone, and like, they don't know who they're interacting with, but I do. But nonetheless, so this is what I'm doing right now. I'll be doing this for the next couple months, and maybe like 20 hours a week, maybe even less than that. I'll be working out of this spot. And I had my first day there the other day, and there was in the summer, like a college kid was working out of it, and the place was a friggin' dive inside, just filled with trash, and it's like a college kid doesn't care about anything. So I spend my first couple hours just cleaning all of this place out and making it hospitable. I mean, I'm actually really excited because I get to do a lot of work and a lot of writing here, and I'm actually going to get paid just to write because there's not really much to do other than to like write and do qigong and meditate and do stuff like that. This is what it looks like across from me. I got this little creek. Actually, the same creek which I'm standing on right now. This is probably 3 miles downstream. But nonetheless, so I go and I clean this whole thing out, and like I'm recognizing like this is where I'm going to be for the next couple months, and I'm recognizing like this continuity, this serendipity, which is carrying me, and hopefully what I'm doing for other people is inspiring them to see what's going on in their life in this time, and how to find their own golden threads. So I clean this whole thing out, I sweep it out, I make it nice. And right before I'm about to leave on the first day, I see right on the floor is a friggin' penny. This penny right here. You see this penny right here? This penny right here. And I'm like, how did I miss that penny? I walked over this 30, 40 times. I've been here for 7 hours. How did I not see this penny? Sure enough, I didn't see that penny. And I go and I look at it. I pick it up. It's a 19, I don't know if you can see this. Let me see if I can make this any bigger for you guys. Can you see this? It's a 1928 penny. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with reality. But somehow this 1928 penny materializes in my next spot, which I get to work. So that's kind of where I want to end this little, end my story here today. I told a couple different stories of the Steiner connection, my own connection with the Starboard and with the Seneca lines and all of those ley lines. I highly recommend to go and look at this book. Buy the book if you can. Support the author. If not, you can see it's for you can read it on Google Books. But there's nothing like holding the book in your hand. Let's see. I'm actually using the book right now as the support structure on this laptop. And then the last thing I want to go and share is I have scheduled coming up, I've got scheduled coming up on September 11th. I'm going to be doing a podcast on the higher side chats. And that's always good for me in terms of like being able to work with people doing, I used to do starboard ceremonies and starboard lights. Now I'm calling it biomancy. But the point I'm trying to make is this is when I work with people one-on-one, usually after, from the 3 other times I've done higher side chat appearances, I've been booked up for like the next 2 or 3 months worth of orders. So I'm giving you guys a heads up. If you've been thinking about having a biomancy session, this is when I go and I look at your life. I look at your astrology. I have you fill out a questionnaire. And then, we have an hour-long chat, and I do this type of research, and I look at your life so you can begin to see your golden threads, and you can begin to better understand your own trajectory. I'd recommend ordering one in the next probably week or 2, because if you don't get it in now, it'll probably be, I'm going to have a long backup. And as I've said before, I don't know what things are going to look like, particularly after this fall and after this winter. So, who knows? Anyway, so if you're interested, go to Susquehanna Alchemy. I redid the website. This is where you'd order it. This is what it would look like. So you can do that. This is Mike. This is a short video. I hope this was fun. I always like to read the comments. Hope you guys are getting ready. Something's coming. Oh, I think it's going to be good. But and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, and that's what I'm going to talk about in the higher side chat interview. But undoubtedly, there's going to be more shake-up before we can get to the really good stuff. So, this is Mike, and I am over and out.